It's just a long lost look in your eyes, brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Or don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, into the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, into the light we go.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another great day of LCK. We're here at the semifinals. KT Rolster head-to-head up against the Afreeca Freecs for one best-of-5 to decide who's going to be King Zone in the finals.
How did we get here so fast, Valdez? The semifinals of the LCK. KT Rolster coming in hot after beating SKT, getting through the telecom war. But Afreeca Freecs, they are such a weird looming struggle here because we saw KT versus Afreeca in this very venue 2 weeks ago. A perfect game, rush in the lineup. Today, we zoom forward. It's a best-of-5. A lot of time for Afreeca to adapt. The where is really interesting.
So guys, we are as always going to introduce our team, so let's go ahead and do that right now.
시즌을 보냈습니다. 하지만 여기서 만족할 수가 없습니다. 그들의 시선은 더 높은 곳을 바라봅니다. Afreeca Freecs!
The Afreeca Freecs coming in here, not looking good against KT. The last time they went head-to-head, it was 0-2, but it wasn't a match they had to prepare for. They've had a lot of time now, and they say, we are ready for the semifinal match. Coming up to second place, the first time being here, they should be very prepared for this match.
And the most interesting question about this matchup to me was who was starting in the jungle for both Afreeca and KT. You will notice that Afreeca have gone experience. Game 1 against KT, they ran Mowgli, who got run over by Rush. We will be seeing Spirit start in game number 1. And if I'm Afreeca, I expect Rush to be playing because Score is the pathing jungler. He's the one who came off the bench in the match against SKT. If I'm Afreeca, that's my assumption.
Yeah, we'll see if the assumption is correct as we are going to go and introduce our second team as well. Everybody looking ready to go here. Another guy, Keen, slowly getting better and better for the Afreeca Freecs. Very solid up in the top lane. Just going ahead and cleaning his glasses, making sure there's no little speck of dust there before we do get into the games. Well, let's introduce our second team first off.
그렇게 그들은 계속해서 변화하고 진화합니다. 그리고 이제 부산행 티켓을 거머쥘 차례입니다. KT Rolster!
KT Rolster coming in here. The lineup always a question. And taking a look in there.
Looks pretty
like
kind to me.
Yeah, on the left side, I'm seeing some glowing. Yeah, it is Rush actually coming on in here for game number 1. No change as they went up against SKT with Rush starting. And it's really cool to see this aggressive jungler coming in, trying to get KT a very early game center team off to a good start.
I'm hearing the faint sound of Twitch chat poggersing. I think that's what's happening right now. Poggersing now an adjective, a verb, whatever. Rush is in the lineup. He is the aggressive side of the coin. He will be starting, and Yukal, fresh off a career-defining first best-of-5 where he stood up to Faker, took the punishment, and if anything, looked the better over the course of 4 games. He gets his second career best-of-5, this time against Kuro, a man who has been in exquisite form in the regular season.
Yukal certainly, we hear rumors about Pawn. Is he hurt? What's going on with him? But at this point, I think he's earned his spot into the lineup. Yukal certainly deserves to be here. He's looking to get into the finals and have a chance at being a Royal Roader as well, trying to join the greats that we do have here in League of Legends.
If you ignore the first couple of seasons, if you think about who fully deserves that Royal Roader status, I think of 2 players. I think of Mata, who is playing in this match, won his first ever series. MVP White back in the day, MVP Ozone days. And then, of course, Cuz, Longzhu last year. The Royal Roader is a very difficult title to earn. Yukal in great form. And this is where we're at. We are already at the semifinals of the LCK. Unlike in other regions, we don't have a third-place match, because the third-place team is whoever loses today. And the winner goes on to face Kingzone next Saturday, 6 days from today. We will be down in the seaside shores of Busan for the grand final.
Yep, Kingzone having 3 weeks to just sit back and do their research, watch all the games, gather the information. Whereas these other teams, they had to play it through. KT Rolster showing a lot in 4 games against SK Telecom, showing once again they're an early game team. They want to get out ahead. And Afreeca with some of the best coaches that we do have here in LCK. We'll see if they can read that KT lineup.
And honestly, with good coaches usually comes good macro, and that's what I would say Afreeca Freecs has had. More reliable, smart macro. Feels like they can play the slow games and the quick games. It feels like they have a plan for most teams. Now, they did not against KT Rolster in that final match, and that's why I think a lot of people say, well, I saw KT, they beat SKT, they look good. We saw them perfect game, Afreeca. Surely it's KT today. And I follow that logic. But if the prep has been there, if they can replicate their regular season form outside of that final match, Afreeca are a fearsome opposition in a best-of-5.
Surely they are some of the best numbers that we do have here. Most wards per minute, and KDA is at second, but they don't have a lot of kills. A lot of their games are very clean, straightforward. They don't take a lot of kills to do it, whereas KT Rolster, the exact opposite, the most first bloods, first place there. They want to get into the game. They want to win their lane, get ahead, and win the game through aggression.
And the KT against SKT was a polished version of the KT that debuted in spring 2017. Aggressive, early game playmaking. Let's go for the Kalista out of meta to fight better in the mid game. Will we make some mistakes? Definitely. But they were able to get over the line, specifically in the jungle, having such a big lead in terms of personnel. I don't think they have that amount of lead in terms of personnel, 1v1 matchups like they did over SKT. When you think of a full 5v5 game, and put your hand up if you're a superstar. Well, it's only Mata with his hand up. He is one of the legends of the game, and he has been exquisitely good, especially if he gets the support counterpick.
Yeah, the last time these two teams went head-to-head, you mentioned Tucson probably sitting at first place. Mata taking a small back seat, at least for this season, but certainly one of the most legendary players that we've had here in LCK. You'll notice his numbers are quite good, especially in terms of vision. Definitely very well known for changing the way the game was played with the pink wards back in the day. But let's take a look at the top lane as well. Keen oftentimes compared to Smeb, and you look at it, their champion pool, very, relatable here.
Close to Royal Roader himself, only played a half season for Everate Winners, and jumping onto Afreeca, replacing Marin, Smeb's old rival. He has looked fantastic, and I would say that if you're going to compare Keen to one player, it would be Smeb, who is, of course, the yardstick for almost every top laner to be compared against. Very big shared champion pool in the middle, and then even when you look at the 3 unique picks, they're very similar. 1 mage, 1 carry, and 1 tank between the 2 of them. Very interesting to see where that matchup goes. Keen will need to be reliable. Speaking of reliability, Kuro has had a great season, but looks second best to Yukal, and with Yukal fresh off his first best-of-5, I think Kuro has spent 2 weeks trying to plot the downfall of the young rookie from the side of KT.
And you absolutely need to. Yukal has come in and said, I'm not just the substitute. I'm not just the replacement for Pawn. I am better than Pawn. I'm going to come in here and help KT to a victory and to the finals. And it's going to be Kuro's job 100%, along with Spirit, I'd have to say. That 2v2 in the mid and jungle. You need to shut this guy down. You need to take away his big picks. Do not let Azir touch the rift for that guy, because you're going to have problems.
And the big difference from Pawn to Yukal is laning phase. Yukal is an exquisitely talented laner, and Kuro has had his struggles in lane, being good this year. But in the 1v1, in terms of mid-priority, you take Yukal every time over Pawn.
Surely you do. We'll have to see how things go down in the pick and ban if they want to target that young mid laner. Certainly helped out Kingzone with when the two teams did go head-to-head. This guy is so stoic as well. Always does his meditation, always gets ready. Doesn't seem shaken at all coming into these big best.
We're ready, Valdez.
But guys, we're going to jump into pick and ban for game number 1. We're taking a small step up here at Spo TV, trying to do things out on the big stage. And either way, guys, we are going to get straight into the pick and ban. You'll notice that this is very important. Already 2 mid laners being taken away.
And I sat there to you and I said, okay, banning people out. Of course, KT Rolster got to this stage, banning out Blank. And I was like, well, if you're going to ban out someone, surely banning out Yukal, who already, because he's played less games, has had a pretty small effective champion pool, is going to be a very tempting thing for Afreeca Freecs. And the Azir ban towards him, the Ryze ban, is a flex pick for both Afreeca and KT. And look at this, we're definitely Razor focused so far in the bans. 3 mid laners and 280 carries, potentially 380 carries coming from KT. What does it mean for Kai'Sa, who so far is available?
Definitely a big question. We'll have to wait and see what they want to ban out third. The one big mid laner that's left over is, of course, Taliyah. We'll see if they do want to first pick it or if they have a counter pick planned for you, Cal, if he picks that up.
Kai'Sa is available and was banned every game on blue side by SKT in the previous series. We know Deft is a great Kai'Sa player in solo queue. Do Afreeca want to first pick Kai'Sa, or will they go for a jungler? There's the full jungle pool available. So many roles at a very high level. They will actually first pick Varus on 8.6. This is very curious because Varus' priority has been very low on the playoffs because, of course, the Rageblade first item build is nerfed for Varus in particular. It feels like you're not as strong if you go down that way. If you're running Rush, you want to find the lead. Hey, Captain Jack. He's in the audience.
He's got a nice little green wristband on as well.
If you're running Rush, you want to find an aggressive early game, and your KT roll, so that's your approach. They will go for Olaf. Trundle is available, and Spirit has been playing in solo queue. I think Spirit is the right choice if you expect Rush, because he can handle aggressive junglers, as what Rush represents. See what KT wants to decide. They're just going to go for that Taliyah, so you have to say the mid lane focus kind of gets left open, but it does mean they get the Taliyah. They would expect the Taliyah. Well, we see a Cassiopeia. A Cassiopeia Skarner could be considered here. That's a big combo in the EU. We saw it last night. But the Trundle will be the 1v1 jungling skirmishing matchup, and maybe where Spirit goes.
You have to imagine that he can do it. Spirit can play pretty much anything here, and if you know that Olaf is going to be so big on this patch, you have to know how to play Trundle in the jungle. And we talked about it before. I had my hands up when I saw Varus first pick, but I want to wait and see what the Afreeca coaches have in store because they know what they're doing.
I want to see if Afreeca want to pick up the Rakan here. They won't, but Rakan, of course, is a big pick for Tucson. While the Lovers bot lane is often grouped in other regions, we have a lot of star-crossed Lovers, a lot of one team taking Xayah, a lot of one team taking Rakan. Afreeca is a Rakan team because Tucson has been one of our best players in any role this season. He is their initiator from support. He'll be jumping on the Alistar, another big pick for him. So they're going to go for the Varus Alistar in the first round on blue side. KT needing to find a support and AD carry at some point. Notice they will go through the second round and invite more AD carry bans. Seems like Deft is comfortable whichever direction he goes in.
We'll see what he can bring out here. I mean, you still have that Kai'Sa available. You have other stuff like Jinx. You know, what exactly is going to make it through the lineup here is the big question. We were talking about the Taliyah. Immediately a counter pick. The LeBlanc gets taken away from Kuro.
And Kuro is one of our best LeBlanc players. Plays it into that matchup and a great Taliyah player. So I always circle Taliyah and also the LeBlanc. when I'm looking at his champion pool because he plays both sides of the matchup. Been one of our biggest Anivia players as well, but I don't know if he'll want Anivia into the Talia. Wait and see. Can be useful against Olaf to split him away from the team. Wait and see what the second ban is. Cassiopeia, again, could be considered. But they just want to ban away the Scion and force Afreeca away from a mid lane Scion. Very early power spike comp.
Only one other 80 carry ban comes in here. It is going to be the Kog'Maw after all is said and done. Also taking away the Gnar from Smeb in the top lane. So let's see what they want to go for. Hovering a bunch of cool stuff here.
Ezreal or Kalista, and the Kalista will be locked in. You think you're going mid-game when you see Talia blind and the Olaf as well. So go back to this Kalista comp that is very KT. We criticize recent Kalista picks after the nerfs because you need to make it happen in the team fights. Specifically, your sieging is very poor, even with the Weaver's Wall. It's very hard to pull off, but they're looking for as much early power as possible. See how Afreeca will round out their draft. Seems like it's time for a top laner. Line pick top lane will be Camille. So it seems like KT this time. Usually in draft, they want to set up with a bot lane counter pick. They went for the Braum. They knew it was going to be a sound lane into the Alistar. They're leaving things open for Smeb, who might look at this and go back to the Fiora Valdez. It's very possible.
Certainly is an option here. It was a matchup we were talking about before the games even started. Currently, Keen is 4-0 on the Camille. They want to go with comfort for this guy who's feeling good on the pick, and immediately a tanker in the mid lane is going to be the Galio here for Kuro.
Now, Galio's been falling through picks and bans quite a lot recently because of his mana cost changes. Wasn't picked by SKT in the telecom war. We'll see it here, and we're honestly fighting fire with fire. This is a really exciting draft. On both sides, a lot of early presence. Mab will finally round out with the Gangplank, which is lower priority after we saw Tal punish the Gangplank pick with the with the Cassiopeia. This time it wasn't a blind pick. It is a farm lane for the GP, and it is a backup global in case Afreeca go for those early playmaking with the Hero's Entrance.
It's going to be Spirit's first game on the Trundle. We haven't seen him just yet ever since the regular season, which is before Trundle in the jungle really became a big thing to counter the Olaf. We know that he can play so much. It looks like he's shown up to play today. The last time we saw him, it looked like he had just woken up and jumped into the booth because it was kind of that exhibition match, the 0-2 they had up against KT. But certainly with Rush coming out first and them identifying it, he's got to do his job here so much against that Olaf.
And they've also managed to remove the power of the Subjugate from the team comp because they've just gone carries. Gangplank doesn't care about the Subjugate. Braum is the only true tank on the side of KT. On the side of Afreeca, they have very strong skirmishing. They have the global, and the use of the Galio will definitely be closely inspected. So much engage on their side as well, with Varus and Alistar in the support. Whereas KT, they've got scaling in the top side, but also the ability to fight early. So if they can avoid losing on the skirmishes 1v1 between the Trundle and the Olaf, you can see that KT can definitely look to tone it on at 20 minutes, 2 items, and try to roll through.
It's what they're all about. They want to be really aggressive in this best of 5 for sure. They want to push their way to that train down to Busan and see if they can actually make it. It's going to be up to Afreeca to be the spoilers. Let's see what they can do. Jumping into game number 1. The KT fans coming out in bigger throngs tonight, it seems. It's still early here, as we always like to say, but it's a Sunday, so everybody should be down into the studio. We're basically packed out already after the games have just started.
It's definitely the fullest I've seen the studio for a 5 p.m. start. Usually it takes till game 2, because before everyone's here, but they don't want to miss any of the action in this best of 5. We are on patch 8.6, the winner goes through to the final. They will play King's Own Dragon X in Busan next Saturday. The loser is frustrated. They end up with nothing, only circuit points to their name. Afreeca respecting the potential of the Braum level 1 start. Olaf, Braum, Kalista is about the strongest 3 level 1 champions you can put together. Husin spots them, and Spirit has to give up the rep.
Early start here from the bottom lane in the jungle to come in and steal this one. Only Tucson and Kramer are going to stick around, force out a smite perhaps.
They won't even get it unless Kramer.
Oh, that was close. Down to 14 health, but Rush does pick it up.
Cast animation almost really cost Rush there, but they're setting up vertical jungling. Very interesting. By taking out the red buff here. We'll see if there can actually be 2 buffs claimed by Spirit, who will now have to impact his pathing. The thing about the Trundle versus Olaf matchup is a lot of the value is out of the pathing from the Trundle. If you know where the Olaf is going to be in counter gank, the pillar basically stuffs any engage before Predator or the Flash is available. But if the pathing is a little bit less predictable, if you're dealing with a 3-buff scenario, if you can't read the pathing of the enemy jungler, it's a lot more tricky. So they're trying to warp the jungle matchup and stop Spirit from just rocking up and winning the 2v2 if he gets the eyes on the Olaf.
Yeah. You mentioned the 2 buffs. Could Spirit get them, but so far he has just gone from blue to Grom to Wolves, and he's just skipping going into the enemy jungle at all for now. So he comes into his own jungle, sees the Raptors were also taken by Rush here, and will just, with his tail between his legs, take those that last jungle camp down to the bottom side.
It really needs the level 3 to be able to look for any skirmishing. Didn't want to invade for a level 2 and force Keen to react, as Mada is very much on the front foot. They want to get the spot here, and they will see Spirit at his Krugs. So a free red buff and a free 3 buff for Rush.
Certainly a good start for a guy who did start up against SKT, but was not able to get the win with this team in that first game. Struggled a little bit, and they eventually subbed him out. Score had a fantastic series, I would have to say.
3 MVPs in a row and all victories for Spirit. Thing about Rush that I think was lacking in that series that needed some more beta testing was specifically the wards. It felt like the vision game really fell away. We did not see Rush and Mada combining like Score and Mada have traditionally combined. So that's the area he needed to work on. That's the easiest thing for us to inspect as we crest the mid game. He's got the 3 buffs. Mada's already on the front foot. KT Rolster. Think about how Afreeca have approached this draft. We know how KT likes to play. Afreeca knows it as well, and they say, well, if you want to play early game, we're going to get down and dirty with you and fight you in the early game. SKT went scaling as they are wont to do, but Afreeca Freecs invite KT to go aggressive and have their own aggression as well.
Yeah. I like the way that Keen is playing this top lane. He's not pushing it in. He's respecting the Olaf and what it can do, and he's inviting Smeb to go ahead and come in and fight. He's like, if you want to get some creeps, you're always going to eat my Camille Harass up in the top side.
But Smeb also has the global taunt. He's gone Kleptomancy in a meta where no one on patch 8.6 has been preferring that particular choice. Gone for the Keystone rune there, which basically says, come gank me, I'm Gangplank. Gonna try and get his banking on. Of course, there is no availability of full gold generation approach like the bandit allowed from support items. Just a corrupting potion, and will be lower gold numbers for Smith.
Spirit's level 3 to Rush is level 5, just because of the way that the jungle went out here. So not really looking to fight, just making sure that Spirit was going to be okay against Rush's invade. Get another look up in the top side at this fight. It seems like Smeb has done a good job of holding off that harass, and he's still got his teleport, so should be fine.
And KT's late invade has got them so much. In 5 minutes, they've got their jungler a 2 to 3 camp lead, and also the safety to walk over to the first Drake, which has been very predictable. A lot of people worried for this, but that's because it's a level 4 Olaf at 4 minutes. This is a level 5, 5-minute Olaf. He's got his lanes pushing as well, and I think KT have trivialized the skirmishing advantage that a Trundle has over an Olaf early because of their late invade. And again, remember, it doesn't matter what 3 champions Afreeca put together. Olaf, Kalista, and Braum is the god-tier level 1 trio, and that meant Afreeca had to give up the objectives.
Yeah. You mentioned predictable. They can't really do much about it.
Nope.
But Rush did a similar thing on Lee Sin, not with the vertical jungling, but with the very early dragons, especially on red side. Loves to get aggressive with those objectives early on. He's not necessarily looking for the big flashy kills in the lanes, but he will always do the job in the jungle, getting those objectives for his team.
Was a Relic Shield start from Death that was missed in all the action at level 1, so this is what he always does, and he's one of the few people still picking the Kalista. And guys, just to be clear, that's not about the Kalista, it's about her ultimate and what she provides for the support. If you remember, we have seen some exquisite performances from Mada on the Braum. Its ability to Disengage, damage, his use of the Unbreakable. Kalista having the Fate's Core empowers Mata to play more aggressively, be an initiator on a champion usually used for peel. So I'm thinking we're going to see some big stuff from Mata, who has more gold as well.
You notice that Keen is looking to get a little bit more aggressive now that he's hit level 6. Obviously, he does have that all-in potential, but look who also has read that as well. It's Rush at level 6 up on the top side. We'll see if Smeb can bait in Keen into an all-in and try to get that kill. Looks like no for now, as Rush is going to back off.
Spirit just has no free lunches, no free camps. Control wards being put in his jungle. Rush sees that, and he's actually going for a blue buff steal, but Spirit will be here as well. Have to be careful. Remember, Hero's Entrance is available.
Yeah. Do also have the Cannon Barrage from Smeb. Things certainly will get very interesting here. The pillar going to come down. Spirit wants to fight. He is level 6. Now trying to come in with the Hero's Entrance, rather. The blue buff is going to be stealed, actually, somehow, some way. In the face of that, now Yukao looking to get aggressive here, 1v2. The Cannon Barrage is coming on in, and now it's just Kuro who's trying to get away without flashing. Is going to be forced to burn that Summoner, but big win for KT in the jungle.
Yeah, Smeb held on to his ult for a long time there, then he used it to force a Summoner out of Kuro. Now he's laning mid lane without flash. The first Hero's Entrance disengaged, and Rush on the front foot. KT on the front foot, and honestly, Afreeca look a bit sleepy. They have definitely been schooled in the first 8 minutes by this early aggression from KT that we all saw coming, just not quite in this particular iteration.
Yeah. Kind of seems like Afreeca is just, taking it lying down. They're like, okay, we know you're going to get aggressive. Let's see if we can just hold it off early game and not fight you as much as possible. At least throughout all the trading, they did not give up first blood, but it's still shown in the golds. Still 1,000 gold behind here. Smeb laughing his way all the way to the bank so far.
So why Rush now? Why Rush at the end of the season? One of the things that's forgotten is they're not playing Rush with Pawn. They're playing Rush with Yukao. And the reason why they're doing that is that Yukao's laning phase and his lane priority is much better than Pawn's. Pawn would give up CS, he'd be a bit more defensive. Honestly, he'd be very Kuro-esque in how he approaches the lane phase, whereas Yukao is an alpha. We see him invade all the time. He makes solo queue-esque aggressive plays all the time, and that's what you need to allow Rush to play this sort of style. So with this duo, they have the trust in allowing Rush to play super aggressive. The team plays around Yukao, and so far, it has been a pleasure to watch.
Certainly is. Another player that we've seen have that kind of solo queue-esque play was Blossom, actually, for SKT. He did a good job of just getting into the face of his opponents, but Yukao is just so much more clean. Blossom had some of those solo queue-esque mistakes as well, whereas Yukao is just looking like he belongs in this very high-tier play so far.
A lot of firsts in this particular match. First best of 5 in his career for Keen, who was relegated with ever 8 winners, but because of how the promotion relegation tournament works, they actually lost 2-1, 2-1, and went out without playing a best of 5. So it's his first best of 5 in his career. It's also the first best of 5 Afreeca after 5 splits has ever played. Trying to get their first win in the postseason. Playing around Keen is one way to do it. Gangplank is only 4 CS down with Kleptomancy getting his gold on. We give Yukao the pass marks, a great first best of 5. We have to watch Keen today and see if the nerves will settle in.
So far, I feel like he's been playing quite well. He's only missed a couple of his abilities, not too much really to talk about.
We don't really inspect the first 10 minutes of the Camille GP lane, but over the course of best of 5, nerves, if you can actually push and get a big lead, these are the things to look forward to as the series goes on, because always a lot of layers of things happening in a series, and we don't want to forget that it's a first time for Keen.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd say is that Smeb is playing it quite well as well. I mean, he's got wards down. He's very, very conscious of the idea that he could be all in. And the one time that Spirit did try to come up to the top side, he was ready to get that speed boost and get out of dodge. So he's just fine farming. He's very even on the farm. And as we go up to the top side again, he's actually pushing Keen away from the farm in this lane.
I'm excited to see where the item build goes for Varus this game, because we were very surprised to see a first pick Varus in a meta where Varus was falling through pick and ban. Varus into Olaf, obviously also not a fantastic matchup as things go on. His core item build, with Rageblade no longer being a one-item power spike in the same way, has also changed. If I look in solo queue, there's a lot of people going Naturals to second, or even a rush on it in the early game for this Varus. If we see a Naturals Tooth Varus, that'd be a really cool thing to see. The Rage Bait is complete, but apart from double applying his W, it isn't as strong as it was before.
Well, this is unfortunate timing for Afreeca. The second they go back, the Ocean Drake does spawn. We talked about how it's not the most valuable Drake, actually the least valuable Drake, you could say, in League of Legends right now compared to the Cloud Drake buff, but it immediately does go over to KT as they stack it. And the next one is going to be Infernal. A bit of an aggression here onto Rush, who's immediately going to pop that back. Tushin getting so low, but is going to survive. Hero's entrance necessary to save his life. Kuro somehow is able to justice punch his way out of there with so many bodies in the way. Thankfully, if he had not gotten out of there, it could have been first blood.
And again, we said both teams are fighting fire with fire. Every time someone walks up, you double check, you spit take, and you say, wait, who's the one who's looking for this? KT thought about the re-engage, did not want to go into area that is no longer warded. The Olaf was a bit up front and, of course, could have been pincered by the pillar and had to flash. So in the end, a couple of ults used, everyone backs away. Normalcy remains, a 2,000 gold lead and 2 Drakes for the side of KT.
Yeah, certainly feels like normalcy for KT, who have some pretty insane gold difference numbers at 15. I think second in the league, probably behind Kingzone, which, of course, does make sense. It is Kingzone. These two teams fighting for a chance to play against that team in the Busan finals. So far, KT looking a bit more impressive, but it's still very early on in the series. Only 13 minutes into game number 1.
Again, all you can really say about this series is that KT drafted super lane priority, played around it really well in the early game to set up Rush for a big lead, and got the Drakes they were set up to do. That is all that's been written for 13 minutes. The game could turn around 20, but they found a bigger lead than you'd expect because Afreeca didn't go full scale, and they did opt into some great early game options. We're just surprised by how well KT pulled off a draft that's very common for them.
So guys, we have a new thing here at SpoTV, just taking a look at the timing on the item builds between the two players. Currently up in the top side, you'll notice that the extra gold at the bank plank, now about 700 gold ahead of the Camille, has allowed him to get that earlier Trinity Force up in the top side.
He's definitely already pretty big. Well, watch the build, because we've seen a couple of GPs try to skip the 1v1 and go for Essence Reaver IE rather than going for the Sterix Gauge, which is usually a must-have against the Camille. So we'll wait and see how Smeb's feeling. Given that KT kind of need to fight for everything, they have almost no siege apart from a Weaver's Wall, and they have a very short-range AD carry. Maybe they'll just see the IE Essence Reaver again. KT Rolster have a lot of options, and Smeb's going to have a lot of gold.
Speaking of objectives, Rush loves to get them. He's already got 2 Drakes for his team. Unfortunately, this time around, he's on a ward, and when you got Galio in the mid lane, it's really hard to win those trades. Afreeca trying not to give it away, but Spirit himself is also on a ward on the left side.
Yeah, if you see him waiting on the ward, you know 100% he has vision. So see how Rush wants to play is he needs to disengage.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that does mean that the Rift Herald should go over to Afreeca, although KT looking to fight this one. That's going to go to Rush somehow, some way. He does get that down with the smite, and now Spirit trying to flash away, but he's in so much trouble. Should be the first blood. There it is. Rush going to pick up the Rift Herald and the first blood over Spirit.
And a perfect 15 minutes to back up a perfect game for Rush last time KT and Afreeca played in this Gangnam Stadium. In all of this, Kramer can go bot lane and take first brick, so no perfect game going to happen in this particular one. But KT, they really want the Rift Herald. And look at this. Look how much damage Smeb had already done to the turret in a Gangplank matchup. He gives a little parlay to the backside and says, thanks for the free lane, mate, and runs over the Camille as the Gangplank.
And he's not backing off yet either. Keen struggling to stay in the lane, now down in CS and down in health. Let's take a look at exactly how this fight happened.
Now watch the replay here. Watch for the smites to come through as hits the backside. Early smite and then a counter smite by Rush. Really weird when it came to the timings there. Hit the backside too early and then Spirit goes down. Notice the fun interaction. When he pops the Ragnarok, he can't actually be bounced by the blasting plant, but he hits the Q, he chugs, he picks up the first blood, and I'm sure plenty of global fans go into ecstasy because this has been the sort of early game that Rush is always drafted for, and this time his whole team has supported him to play aggressive.
He's popping off in a big way now on the Olaf. We were so surprised when the Varus got locked in first for Afreeca. We were talking about how the Afreeca coaches are fantastic, but so far I'm not really seeing it, as KT certainly proving that their draft is a bit better. Olaf looking good, and especially later game, that Olaf with extra items and extra gold is going to be running all over Kramer.
And let's remind everyone, it is dynamic side selection. Afreeca came in as the higher seed in game 1, 3, and 5. They have side selection. They chose blue side, so they chose the ability to prize something. It feels like the 80 carry bans from KT have really forced them into an awkward position. Remember that Kramer is starting. He's the only 80 carry. Aiming is not able to be fielded due to his off-the-rift issues. They looked like they were really getting things going with aiming. Now they're forced to go with Kramer. I'm really, really surprised to see Varus priority on 8.6. No other team in Korea is doing that.
Certainly is strange. We'll see if it does work out, if the genius of the coaches comes back to prove us wrong. But so far, I'm a bit skeptical. See the jungle proximity much higher for Spirit, but really it hasn't been about the ganks in this game. It's been about the jungle control for Rush, the objectives going his way. And now on a very fed Olaf, up a level as well on Spirit, even after he takes down the red buff.
And it's been a team performance. It's been playing around Rush. They weren't able to do this in that first game against SKT to this level. They're going for their third Drake at 17 minutes. Trying to pile them on. There could be 6 spawns in this game.
This isn't the first time they've done that. I'm going to hold my point because they're going for a fight. What can Spirit do? There's no escape for him. He's got no flash. Here comes Rush, running in, smacks him in the face, says, get out of my game. And down he does go. That's going to be an extra kill. The engage, though, by Tushin. They're going to lock down Smith. What a play. I'm speechless. Tushin saying, I'm not going to go down without a fight at least.
That was a really important moment. They don't actually get any real damage, though, so the full charge comes off for the Rift Herald. Most of the turret goes down. Tushin does spare their blushes momentarily, but I don't think KT's taking a chill pill. They really want this first turret.
That was pretty intense. These two teams certainly come into play tonight, as we have seen so far, but this is the same thing we saw in Game 2 of KT versus Afreeca. You have a very aggressive early game jungle. That time it was Lee Sin. This time it's Olaf that's ahead. And you have the Kalista. There's no way to go in there and challenge, and then they get themselves into a bad position.
Also notice that Smeb had walked down, and there was no Camille available. This was a 5v4. Very early, easy kill. And actually the counter kill has almost nothing to do with the Camille, because after the flash headbutt, Hextech ultimatum useful, but you can see from the CC bar that he was definitely going to die, even if they didn't invest that. They get a counter kill, and look at this Kramer build. Very interesting. He's going for IE after the Rage Blade. So once you get the early magic damage, the Phantom on hit from the Devourer passive once you get the 6 stacks, and then going straight into the Infinity Edge. So it's going to be a more standard build eventually.
We'll see if he can get there, though, as KT is certainly looking to pressure as much as possible here. Already 2-0 now is Rush, has picked up the Deadsman Plate, his favorite item.
What I'll say about this build is that for the first 5 autos, it's actually really, really weak. You won't have critical strike or attack speed to synergize until very late in the build. Once you have the 6 stacks, you do a lot of damage, but there's no front line for him to auto. If you see this Varus against 3 tanks, he just autos the tank who doesn't care 5 times, then he's doing damage. Because there's so much damage inside of KT, I can't see him actually getting the free 6 autos to get the full value out of the Rage Blade IE when it's complete.
Yeah. Taking a look at the builds there, you'll notice that the difference comes in that after the Rift Herald shenanigans, Spirit goes back and picks up a Targon's Brace, whereas Olaf went back, Rush, and picked up a Dead Man's Plate eventually.
Rush all alone.
Yeah, might have gotten himself into trouble here. Is forced to fight against that Camille. Doesn't really care, though. Getting very low. Tushin trying to make another play. Trying to get onto Rush here, and it looks like he will go down in the end. Nicely done by Afreeca to catch Rush in their jungle. Now, oh boy, the cannon right in the face there, and that's going to do it. Yukal picks up the kill, and they're not done yet. A second kill goes over to our young mid laner in the mid lane, and now they're going to pick up this first blood turret in the mid side.
Who's trapped with who seems to be the question when you both fight with fire, when both teams are looking for the early game. That's what's going to happen, but honestly, Afreeca looked like an imitation, a knockoff of KT Rolster. This is KT playing their style. They were born in these flames. They will not be scorched in them. And Afreeca, they get the first kill because this time their top laner is grouped first. But the turnaround comes because there's just so much damage already on the side of KT.
A rough rush runs up to the edge of that. He's like, oh wait, I can't get out of this even with my Ragnarok. And like the turnarounds here from KT.
Yeah, what I want you to watch is that this is because Camille is grouped. Then Smeb walks in. He's already shoved. He walks up. Seismic shove positioning. Wonderful. They're happy to go in. They have so much damage this early that while Afreeca got the little heads-up play, while Rush was too far advanced, that is something for him to VOD review and be a little bit more conservative on. Didn't really need the Raptors at 20 minutes into the game. The follow-on effect is what you expect, and that's why KT didn't really, start licking over their bruises. They just kept going. They knew there was more good things to find.
Yeah. UCal's Taliyah has been popping off in a big way. You notice that the most damage goes to Smeb. UCal's been doing his own damage to the Galio in the mid lane, who's just been trying to swipe it away, but a double kill in that last fight. He was threading the volleys through so well in that last one to pick up the kill onto Tucson. We go back to the pick and ban. There was no first pick on the Taliyah to deny the fourth mid laner from UCal. I guess they were scared of a LeBlanc, but UCal hasn't played LeBlanc yet. There are these counters to the Taliyah, even a Galio straight into it. It seems like they were valuing that a little bit more than the Taliyah, but I mean, UCal's Taliyah, once again, just another pick you got to think about. Do we ban it in game 2? What's going to happen there?
And that's why, we were praising the coaches. I think the coaches of Afreeca have been wonderful. They definitely knew what they wanted to do, which is pincer UCal, the rookie. That makes sense. But they didn't really pay it off with the first pick. The Varus first pick was very strange because they set up to do one thing and kind of forgot about it for a second, felt flustered and said, oh, wait, we need a champion for Kramer. Get the Varus. The Varus priority, questionable. Going for a pinch UCal, then giving him Taliyah when your answer is a Galio comp, questionable. And that is really what is letting them down. As welcome back Shirelia's Reverie is what we're reminding you of. This is the first Shirelia's Reverie since Season 3 ended. Season 3 ended. Faker hoisting his first world title in the Staples Center happened. Then the patch happened. And now this is only when Shirelia's Reverie comes back in the LCK.
Yeah, funnily enough, it's on the Galio in the mid lane. I suppose that's one way to do it. You would think of it as perhaps an item that Tucson would pick up, but Kuro, after his Route of Ages, going to take a small step back on the AP, build that team item. Do have another Infernal Drake, but this time, finally, KT is not fully set up for it. I say that, but now the Weaver's Wall going to come in. They're trying to get
flash on Kramer.
Look at this.
He's just dead.
Where'd he go? What happened to the Varus? He just disappeared on my screen as Rush just knocks him down. And that's going to do it. 3 kills straight in a row. This Olaf, they're just laughing in the face of Afreeca after that pick and ban, saying, thank you very much. I'll pick that up. As Rush running away with this one.
And Kuro didn't even have a time to use his hero's entrance. Couldn't find the right spot. Now he's trying to interrupt. Rush is low. They're onto the Baron already, but I don't think Keen or Kuro can do anything. This is a Baron. They knew that the flash was down on Varus. He walked up anyway, and KT sent him into the gray screen. Too easy for KT Rolster.
They make it look so easy at this point. I want to see this again.
So watch what's happening here. They know that Varus has walked up. Taliyah splits off one side. Kramer can't kite downwards. Then the Gangplank ultimate comes in, and he gets flashed on by an Olaf. It was too easy for KT to commit. Hey, he can't be pushed up. He doesn't have flash. Varus tried to duck down the Taliyah Weaver's Wall in perfect position. Another KT team play. Team jungling to empower Rush. Team play to stop Kramer from having an escape route. Kramer's build also is counting against him because he needs time in a fight. He's never going to get. The Olaf's always going to be in his face.
Very curious to see what they can do to save this poor Varus that they first pick later on. At this point, KT is ahead 9,000 gold. They're going to get their second Infernal on top of a Cloud Drake. What can you do from here? Game 1 looks all but lost at this point for Afreeca, as KT, with the Baron buff, are now going to look to get even more objectives and even further ahead. They looked like they looked so soft up against King Zone, but then once I saw them against Afreeca, bringing in Rush with the quick 2-0, they looked like a new KT, and so far, they're looking to continue being that new KT with a very dominant lead in Game 1.
There's another soft thing in this game, and it's the champions on the side of Afreeca. We actually have the Zeke's Convergence Rush on the Alistair. He is not a tank. There's no tankiness really on their team, and while KT picked a no-tank lineup, they have all of the damage, Valdez. So to answer your question, there is no way to get back into this game for Afreeca outside of big mistakes from KT, and they would need to make 2 or 3. They can try to lose the minimum. This is honestly where you practice your macro and say, well, we can't walk up here. Let's try to keep this turret for as long as possible. Let's try to stay in the game, work on our warding patterns. They cannot take a 5v5, and KT's going to start turret diving before too long.
Surely they will. Their composition is one to do exactly that, lay down a wall behind the enemy team and then run straight at them with their Olaf. It's going to be a lot of fun. They don't necessarily need the Shirelias themselves. They're going to try to all in here onto Yukal. That damage coming in, and finally they do get him down here. Keen even is going to survive in the backline, but look at Def just totally alone.
Smeb just assassinates the Varus.
Look at him going in the backline with the barrels. Tushin gets a little bit too low. KT way too far ahead at this point. Another kill gonna go over. Kuro trying to do his best, but he gets taken out. That's gonna be the ace, and it should be game number 1 going over to KT.
And this is what happens against KT. You know they'll make a mistake. Yukal walks up, doesn't matter, dies with his summoners up, but they're so far ahead. They went for early game. They were ready for it. They're dancing in their base at 27 minutes. It's a pre-30-minute win for KT Rolster.
The kind boy has got a huge smile on his face. I hope all of Twitch chat does as well, because KT Rolster come out and send a message in game number 1. 27 minutes to take it in very dominant fashion.
And that's what happens when you get down and dirty with KT Rolster in the early game. You better be ready, and 2 weeks was not enough to get the Afreeca Freecs ready for this KT Rolster. They're in form. They've just already played a best of 5, and they blow away the side of Afreeca Freecs, and they don't even need score to share their blushes. So honestly, I think you have to earn the right to see score. I think Rush should play game number 2. They'll have side selection as well. Maybe they just choose red side and say, either we're going to counterpick for the top lane, or we're going to bring out the Lee Sin and counterpick for Rush.
Definitely have to agree with you. You mentioned how Afreeca looked sleepy in their 0-2 loss against KT. Well, they looked even sleepier here in game 1 in the playoffs. They need to wake up. Something needs to change. Is it going to be Spirit in the jungle? Perhaps that's one way to do it. It's not all his fault, though. KT played a fantastic team game across the Rift. It's going to be hard to stand up to them in game 2.
They might as well get in a flying V and start going for some Mighty Ducks references. Such a great team game. It doesn't matter if Yukal dies. Deft has hit his items. Smeb is a monster. Watch how Smeb approached this fight. He's like, there's 4 guys. I'm going to assassinate Kramer under the enemy turret because I'm Gangplank with Kleptomancy. No one came top lane. He's 2 levels above Keen. Everyone is squishy to Smeb. He's the tank of this game, and he tanks down the man trying to be the next Smeb. Keen not good enough here. Afreeca Freecs not good enough to put a dent in KT.
Certainly an explosive start to this best of 5 between KT and Afreeca. Lots of things to talk about for Afreeca, certainly. KT leaving the booths with their head held high, feeling like the champions already, but they got to win 2 more to go down to Busan. We'll see if they can actually do it here. As guys, we're readying ourselves for a break between these 2 games. We'll see you in just a moment for game number 2.
어떻게?
그냥 박수 한번 치고.
와 우리 이미 킹전이야.
솔직히 작년 서머 우승하고 나서 당연히 이번 시즌
혹시 이번엔 내 1할 줄 알긴 했어.
나 1등 할 거라고 생각했는데
16승 2패.
저는 뭐 MVP 순위가 뭐 얘기했을 것 같아서 나는 뭐 MVP 1등 곽보물.
그래 광범물로 하자.
나 진짜 김동완 과거 봤을 때 진짜 기절할 뻔했어.
인정.
나 너무 무서워서 부스에서 울 뻔했어.
그날 인정.
난 그 옆에 있었던 그 대기실, 다른 팀 그 표정을 잊을 수가 없어.
나는
근데 삼성
보고 있을 때 KSB였는데 KSB에서 어떡해 약간 이런 느낌이야. 근데 일단 포즈가 엄청 길게 걸렸어.
한기서가 숨을 되게 가빠르졌어. 숨을 그냥
계속 쳐다보고
숨을
있었다가.
쉬다가
몰아서 쉬다가 갑자기 숨을 못 쉬겠다.
깜짝 놀랐어요. 다시는 뵙고 싶지 않았어.
그게 그냥 근데 솔직히 말해서 참치를 먹으러 간다고 해서 찍은 건데 전 참치를 먹고 싶지 않았어요. 저는 제 밥 먹는 거에 제약 걸리는 게 정말 싫기 때문에 그래서 그냥 저는 그때 그냥 다른 걸 먹으러 갔어요. 다른 걸 먹으러 갔는데 그냥 다 그냥 참치 먹고 그냥 알지 알아서 분량 뽑겠구나 약간 이렇게 생각하고 그냥
분량이 솔직히 우리가 찍으면서도 아 이거 도저히
맞아요. 너무
1평가
먹기만
달라진 게 없다. 와 이거 더 이상 분량을 뽑아야겠다 하고 이제 참치집을 갔는데 앉은 애들을 보니까 도저히 분량이 나올 수가 없어. 숙소에서 가끔 이제 보성이가 약간 백치미가 있어서
백치미가 아니에요.
백치미라 하자. 백치미가 있어서 이제 이런 상식 질문을 좀 하는데 그러다가 이제 참치집에서
그 사단이 났어.
유니버스 서드 다테. 유니버스 서드 다테.
이 의외로 일단 동아가 아는 게 많아.
동아는 똑똑해.
일단
동아가 제일 똑똑해.
동아가 제일 똑똑해서 아는 게 좀 많은데 그걸 가지고 이제 백치미와 약간 제일 똑똑한 애가 있으니까 이걸로 뭔가 뽑아보자. 알고 있는 거잖아.
알고 있죠.
알고 있잖아.
아 너무 재미없게 하려고.
이거 탐구 생활을 위해 희생된 거일 뿐.
재미가 없어서 그렇게 말한 거예요.
희생된 거일 뿐.
당연하지.
이거 근데 이거 제가 봤을 때 비단 저희 팀뿐만 아니고 다른 팀들도 다 봐야 돼요.
네, 맞아.
보성이 똑똑한 편일 수 있어요.
똑똑한 편 아니지만 중간일 수도 있어.
너 정말
평탄
평타일
편
수
아닐
있어.
수도 있어. 하반 역시
한번 보여줘. 야,
하반장.
사과 영어로 한번 보여줘.
애플.
와 이런 리액션. 보성아 너는 뭐 자신 있는 과목 뭐였어?
체육.
체육 과목입니다.
체육 과목이지.
과목이지.
앵간했어요. 재능 있는 애들한테 줬는데 앵간했어요.
저는 수학
가는
저는
거라서.
원래 이제 부모님이 그쪽이라서 수학 선생님이 꿈이었어요.
뭐야? 잘 어울린다.
국어하고 역사 쪽.
역시 이게 진짜 확실히 이거 다 그러니까
제일 똑똑해. 인정할게 제일 똑똑해.
이게 프로게이머 진짜 내가 99%는 모를 만한 내용을 다 알고 있어.
걸어다니는 백과 사람들이
인정.
나 가정 진짜 잘했어.
잘했을 거야.
나 진짜 나 가정쌤이 나 너무 좋아했어.
내가 봤을 때 실기도 이거 만지는 거야. 실기
진짜
둘다
가정쌤이 나 그렇게 좋아했어. 너같이 열심히 한 남자를 못 봤다.
그냥 가정 시간에 뭘 먹어서 좋았어요.
나도 맞아 나도
집에서 하나씩 갖고 와.
재료 갖고
그래갖고
이제.
라면도 해 먹어요.
저는 쌈무를 되게 좋아해요.
아이 쌈무 진짜 좋아해.
맞아 쌍무
맨날 밥 먹으면 쌈무 있냐고 뭐 오리고기뿐만 아니라 다 쌈무에 싸 먹어.
그냥 진짜 환장한다.
그러니까 제가
모르겠는 쌈무.
그냥 밥을 되게 좋아하고 좀 신 걸 좋아해요. 그래서 쌈무 되게 좋아하고 치킨무 좋아하고. 그럼 나 개인적으로 질문 하나 해볼게. 콜라는 펩시냐 아니야?
콜라 뭐 그냥 상관없지.
야 둘이 한번 해봐. 나 궁금한 거 하나 있어. 그냥 하나 둘 셋. 와 이거 봐 이거 어쩔 거야.
근데 여기
오르동들이야 맞죠?
왜냐?
귀엽다고 그랬지.
그래 나도 먹고 싶었는데 이거 오질 않는다고.
계란 짬뽕 하나 둘 셋.
짬뽕.
일단 갔어.
나랑 이 형이랑 했다.
게이드 가자. 일단 너네 갔고.
이 형이랑 나랑
자 이제 탑미드 자.
김치찌개 된장찌개.
오케이.
오케이
네.
괜찮네.
하나 둘 셋. 된장.
김치찌개.
오케이 꺼.
일단 와카전부터 보자. KSB 대 SKT.
오케이.
재밌게 돼.
2대1 스커트.
오케이 난 2대 0으로 스커트.
나도 2대0.
그러면 스커트 올라.
스카트가 올라왔다 생각하고 이제 SKT 대 KT.
무조건 3대2 이번엔 3대1 KT.
3대 1.
3대 1로 스크.
나 3대 1로 KT.
난 3대1로 KT.
나 3대 0으로 KT. KT 대 아프리카.
아프리카.
이게 재밌긴 하지.
이게
난 아프리카 올라갈 거야.
난 KT.
나저 KT가 이번에 너무 스무스하게 이겼는데.
미드 신인 탑 신인.
아프리카 3대0.
나는 3대 1 KT.
저도 3대 1 KT.
3대 2 KT.
너는 SKT가 올라왔다는 가정하에 얘기해.
너 뭐야?
너는 SKT
왜
야
우리가 얘기하는 게 끼냐고.
너 뭐야 그렇게?
뭐야?
SKT 아프리카 3대1 SKT.
너 SKT 말하냐?
느낌이 온다니까.
근데 항상
난 느낌이 올라왔다 같아.
그래서 너부터 SKT.
너 SKT가 올라왔다.
뭐야 고민 와
3대1 킹전.
KT.
나도 KT
3대1 킹전. 나 3대0 킹전 할게. 빨리 퇴근해.
난 3대2까지 하면 나 너무 나 두 판 대 2대2 상황 나 너무 힘들 것 같아. 3대1로 이기자.
나 3대1.
난 그냥 본가 한번 들렸다가 가져올 거고.
저는 콘서트 가고 싶어. 갔을 때.
나도
공연장. 일단 저희 김나영 누나.
그분 홍대 가면 가끔 보이잖아.
저 너무 레어몬스터.
아 그래?
희귀 포켓몬 거의 가끔 보러 오자.
펜타토닉스. 펜타토닉스 내한도 오긴 하니까 그 가끔씩 한번 기회 있으면 가보고 싶긴 해.
난 그런 거 같고 유스케
나도 막 그런데. 그거 재밌어 많이.
유스케 약간 좀 여유로운 그런 막 분위기 있는 데를 가고 싶어.
너 여전히 노잼이구나.
뭐 전화와서 갑자기 뭐 하는 짓이냐?
극혐이야.
형이랑 비슷한 거.
이니디가 말도 안 되는 예술입니다. 심지어 양 정글러가 너무 작은 거 아닌가요?
정글러가 7분이 15분인데
아니 너무 단단한데요 팀 운영. 이거면 프레이가 프리델
더블 킬을 냈습니다.
네, 한이 덮치는 포지션이
그냥 전성기로 마무리.
말릴 사람이 없어요.
Trying to get demons up out of me. Turn to a beast, eat your